You know that feeling, right? You've been putting in the work on yourself, reading the books, maybe listening to shows like this one, trying out all the advice, and yet, well, sometimes you still feel stuck.
Yeah.
Like you're pushing against something, maybe not getting where you want to go as fast as you think you should be, even with all the effort.
Oh, that's incredibly common, especially I think right now.
Right.
I mean, think about the pace of everything.
Right.
Technology, work, just, navigating life in 2025. It feels different.
Totally different.
And the things that worked before, those old habits, maybe even the advice you got back then. Well, your brain might literally be wired for yesterday.
Okay, so that's the core idea we want to really dive into here. What if that feeling, that friction, isn't because you're lazy or not trying hard enough?
Right.
What if it's because your internal operating system, your brain, is running on, let's call it outdated software. Software not really optimized for today's challenges.
Exactly. It's like trying to run, I don't know, some super complex new AI program on a computer from the 90s. It just struggles.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But here's the really powerful part.
Go
That wiring isn't permanent. You actually have the capacity to deliberately update that software.
You can rewire.
You can rewire your identity, build new circuits, new pathways that are specifically designed for the future you want to create.
Okay, so that's our mission for this deep dive then.
Yeah.
We're not just talking about, surface level stuff or just thinking positive thoughts.
No, this goes deeper.
We want to unpack some really powerful, actionable insights, a kind of transformation plan focused specifically on rewiring your identity.
Yeah, building those neural pathways for success so they become like your automatic default setting.
Running automatically, I like that.
And these aren't just abstract ideas, they draw on principles from people who really understand that deep connection between identity, actions, and how the brain fundamentally works.
It's about understanding the why behind your patterns so you can actually change them.
Exactly.
So by the end of this, you listening should have some concrete ideas, things you can try like right away for building real confidence, the kind that isn't fragile.
And breaking free from those frustrating negative loops that keep you stuck.
Yeah, and staying focused in this crazy, distracting world. Overcoming that fear of, putting yourself out there.
And even activating your brain's highest level decision-making mode when you really need it.
Your CEO mode.
Your CEO mode, exactly. It's about consciously building the mental and emotional infrastructure for the future you're stepping into right now.
Okay, let's start with something that trips so many people up. Confidence.
Ah, yes. Confidence.
We're often taught, or maybe we just pick it up somewhere, that confidence is this feeling you get after you succeed.
Right. You achieve enough stuff, check enough boxes, and then magically you feel confident. And then you can go after the big things.
But the principles we're looking at here, they flip that completely, don't they?
They really do. True, solid self-confidence isn't a feeling you just wait around for. It's defined more as the willingness. The willingness to go after your meaningful goals, even when you feel anxious or uncertain.
So it's not about not feeling scared.
Not at all. It's about acting anyway. It's built on your actions, being true to your values, and importantly, having self-compassion when things inevitably get tough.
So it's built through the action and being honest with yourself, not just, saying affirmations while hoping for the best.
Precisely.
And honestly, thinking about 2025, this feels urgent.
It is urgent. The pace of change, the need to constantly adapt and learn. If you wait until you feel 100% confident before you start something new, you'll just get left behind.
Yeah, the world moves too fast.
The people and companies really thriving now. They're the ones who start before they feel totally ready. They build the confidence while they're moving. Action generates the confidence, not the other way around.
Okay, so how do you do that? How do you act your way into feeling more confident, especially when you've got that anxiety humming underneath?
Right, that's the key question. This is where a core technique comes in, part of what we can call an identity action plan. It's mental rehearsal.
Rehearsal, like visualization.
Yes, but maybe framed a bit differently. Think of it as the ultimate pre-paving tool. Its power lies in how it primes your brain physiologically.
Physiologically, how so?
When you vividly imagine doing something, successfully nailing that presentation, having that tough conversation go well, finishing a project, your brain actually starts firing in patterns similar to the real thing.
It was like practicing in your head.
Exactly. It's laying down neural pathways as if you've already done it. It's not just wishful thinking.
Okay, so what's the practice?
It can be simple. Just spend maybe 5 minutes first thing in the morning visualizing your ideal successful day unfolding.
5 minutes.
Yeah, but the key is the richness. You need to see it, hear it, and really feel the emotions, accomplishment, focus, ease, whatever fits. You're basically creating future memories.
Future memories. I like that term.
You're giving your brain a concrete, positive blueprint to follow. It makes those successful outcomes feel more familiar and more achievable even before your day really starts.
Can you give an example?
Well, think about someone like Elon Musk. His goals often seem completely audacious, right?
Landing rockets, yeah. Seems impossible.
Does he wait until he feels 100% sure it's going to work before they try? Of course not.
Right.
He and his teams just relentlessly pursue the goal. They act, they experiment, they tackle problems nonstop. That constant forward movement combined with, intense focus and visualizing solutions, that's building confidence.
So it's confidence born from action, even anxious action.
Yes. Continuous, anxious, forward action and mental preparation, not from waiting for some perfect feeling.
Wow. That's a powerful reframe. So for you listening, what does your ideal successful day look and feel like? How could just 5 minutes tomorrow morning creating that future memory maybe shift things for you?
Okay, let's shift gears a bit. Let's talk about another really critical piece of this rewiring puzzle, and it's a bit provocative, like you said earlier.
Uh-oh.
The idea that your brain might, in a way, be kind of addicted to failure.
Addicted to failure. That sounds harsh, but I think I see what you mean. That pattern of resisting pain, getting stuck dwelling on setbacks, asking, why me?
Yeah.
Again and again.
That loop is the formula for suffering, isn't it? It just reinforces the neural pathways tied to defeat, helplessness.
You dig the rut deeper.
Precisely. And the counter principle here is acceptance.
Acceptance, which doesn't mean liking it, right?
Not at all. It doesn't mean condoning it or being happy about the setback. It just means accepting the reality of what happened without mentally fighting against it.
Okay.
And this is where having a growth mindset really kicks in. It lets you pivot from focusing on the pain to focusing on the learning.
Reframing challenges as opportunities.
Exactly. Building resilience, adaptability, which, let's face it, you absolutely need in 2025.
Oh, for sure. It's not just a nice philosophy. It feels like a survival skill now. With everything changing so fast, you have to experiment, try new things.
Which means setbacks are inevitable. Things won't work perfectly the first time. That's the norm, not the exception.
Right. So if your brain is wired to just collapse or dwell on every little failure, you're going to burn out fast.
Absolutely. Breaking that failure loop is essential for sustainable growth, just for navigating this whole landscape.
So what's the action plan here? When you hit that setback, the project doesn't land, the feedback stings, you miss a goal, how do you interrupt that default why me spiral?
You consciously, deliberately interrupt it. The moment you notice that dwelling or self-blame starting, you catch it.
Catch it, okay? Then what?
And you pivot. You pivot to asking different questions like, okay, specifically, what can I learn from this outcome? And based on this new information, how can I adapt to my approach next time?
So you're treating the setback purely as data.
Purely as data. Objective information, not as a judgment on your worth or capability.
That takes the sting out, doesn't it?
It does. And neurologically, it shifts activity away from the amygdala, the emotional reaction center, and back towards the prefrontal cortex, the rational problem-solving part. You're disrupting the loop right there.
And you mentioned keeping a learning log.
Yeah, it sounds simple, but it's powerful. Actually writing it down, the challenge, what happened, and then specifically listing the actions you took to learn and adapt. It really helps rewire the brain over time.
So you're training your brain to default to finding solutions, not just dwelling on the problem.
Exactly. Seeking wisdom from the difficulty, not just pain.
Okay, let's imagine that founder, Sarah, you mentioned, launching her AI app in 2025. Reviews are lukewarm.
Right. A brain wired for yesterday might just crumble. I failed.
But Sarah, using this,
She treats the reviews as data points. Clunky UI? Okay, that's data A. Benefit unclear, data B. She doesn't wallow. She analyzes, pulls insights, and iterates fast. Pushes an update.
her brain isn't addicted to the failure of the launch.
It's addicted to learning and improving. Continuous improvement. That's the key difference.
It really makes you think, doesn't it?
Yeah.
How could reframing your last challenge, even a small one, purely as data, how could that change how you felt and what you did next?
Okay, final big area. Let's talk about something we all grapple with constantly. Just navigating this world of pings, notifications, endless information. trying to stay in charge.
Oh man, yeah. Digital overload. It feels like it's constantly trying to hijack your focus.
It is. And what it's hijacking specifically is your prefrontal cortex.
The CEO mode.
The CEO mode, right behind your forehead. Executive functions, impulse control, complex decisions, focus. That's its job.
And to make smart choices, prioritize, not just react constantly in 2025. You desperately need to be able to turn that mode on deliberately.
You do. And the principle here is that getting into that focused, confident state isn't just mental. It's deeply tied to your physical body.
How you hold yourself, your breathing.
Exactly. Your posture, your breath patterns, they send powerful signals back to your brain and nervous system. Simple physical tweaks can actually calm anxiety and switch on those clear thinking circuits.
And this is urgent too, right?
Yeah.
Burnout is so high. The complexity of decisions. You need that calm, analytical part of your brain online.
You can't afford to be scattered or overwhelmed when it really matters.
So what's the identity action plan for this?
It's remarkably simple and quick. It's called the 60-second power pause.
60 seconds. Okay, I like the sound of that.
Right before a moment where you need to be really centered and decisive, walking into a big meeting, starting a critical task, having a difficult chat.
Making a big personal decision even.
Yeah, take just 60 seconds. Start with some conscious, deep, diaphragmatic breathing.
Belly breathing.
Yep. Slow inhale, maybe count to 4. Gentle hold for 4. And a slow exhale for 6. That longer exhale is key.
Why the longer exhale?
It stimulates the vagus nerve, activating your parasympathetic nervous system, your body's rest and digest mode. It directly counters the stress, fight, or flight response, calms you down physiologically.
Okay, breathing. What else in the 60 seconds?
Then, while you're breathing or right after, adopt a physical power pose for maybe 30 seconds.
Power pose. Like
Wonder Woman.
Wonder Woman. Hands on hips, standing tall, shoulders back, or the starfish taking up space. It might feel a bit silly at first if you're not used to it.
I can imagine.
But the physical act itself sends signals of confidence and safety to your brain. It can subtly change hormones, and crucially, it tells your nervous system we're not under immediate threat.
Which frees up resources for the prefrontal cortex.
Exactly. Allows you to calm the amygdala's alarm bells and get your CEO mode back online. You're physically prepping your brain.
You know, you see variations of this everywhere with high performers. They have their rituals.
Absolutely. Think of Oprah Winfrey. She's talked about using breathing and moments of stillness before going on stage or starting a big interview, right, to center herself.
It's not about faking it. It's physical and mental prep to be fully present, centered, accessing her best self right when it counts.
So a practical tool. When could a 60-second power pause help you activate your CEO mode and show up more centered?
Okay, so let's bring this all together. That feeling of friction, of being stuck that we started with,
Yeah.
it doesn't mean you're broken. It doesn't mean you're not trying hard enough. It might just mean your mental wiring is, well, optimized for a different time.
A world that doesn't quite exist anymore.
And the incredible opportunity right now in 2025 is understanding that and deciding to rewire on purpose.
Taking control of the update process.
Yes, stop letting the old default patterns run the show. Start deliberately rehearsing the future you want. Practice reframing setbacks as data. Physically activate your peak state when you need it.
Build a brain that's actively wired for the future you're building.
Instead of being held back by the reactive habits of the past.
Okay, so here's the final thought we want to leave you with after this deep dive. What's one specific habit, big or small? Maybe it's that 5 minutes of mental rehearsal in the morning. Maybe it's catching yourself dwelling on a frustration and consciously reframing it as data. Or maybe trying that 60-second power pause before your next important call.
Just one thing you could commit to implementing this week. To explicitly start building a brain wired for your future. What identity are you choosing to strengthen and build, starting today through that deliberate action?
The power to update your internal operating system really is in your hands.
Go build those future memories.